Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me are life coaches Monique Scott and Cindy Chavez. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And there we go. Yes, now we're happy that everybody's decided to join us today, and going to bring in Cindy and Monique here. So welcome to the show, and we're glad to be working StreamYard a little bit better than the last time. I'm getting used to this program. It's taking a while, but I'm getting used to it. I'm hoping one of these days they actually approve it so that I can play the intro and the outro without having to knock us out. But that's okay. You know, we'll get there eventually.
Drive a car?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you just, you learn one step at a time, and they're learning and we're learning. So it's okay. How you guys doing? How's it going, Cindy? You're looking good?
Doing great. It's, if you can tell, I guess it looks a little lighter in here because I have one light on, but it is like dark as night in my house again because we are having storms, and it's just the weirdest feeling when it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It feels like it's 8 or 9 at night. It's just
right.
Dark, right? And it's like, it's confusing.
Understandable.
But I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good.
Good. And Monique, you're looking really good too. You're smiling big. You're looking relaxed today, actually. How you doing?
Good. I am relaxed. It's been a great week.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Well, we had fun last week because we started doing law of attraction experiments. We did experiment number 1, and I don't know about you guys, but I got a pretty quick result. So I wanted to tell you the story about that. Now to kind of recap, I kind of piggybacked on what you guys were asking for. I figured, okay, well, you gave me a good idea, so I'll go with it. So I was going to ask for a guest to contact me, somebody to contact me out of the blue in the 48-hour period, to be a guest on the show. And I got off the podcast. We were done. We had a great show, started to do my usual stuff, which is basically getting ready to publish the podcast itself. And about an hour later, I finished up and looked on Facebook, and there is a message from David Strickle, the stream of David, saying, hey, it's been a while since I've been on the show. Why don't I come out of the show sometimes? So I didn't have to wait real long. It came really, really quick. How'd you guys do? Did you guys have any interesting results?
Well, it was funny because I had said I wanted to hear from someone, like a text message or, a private message or something from someone. And I think the way I said it was someone that I have that either was a client 10 years or more ago, or someone that I just haven't heard, an old friend or something I haven't heard from in a long time.
Right.
Well, and then Walt said he was wanting to have a new guest on the show, and I interrupted him and said, oh, Walt, I forgot to tell you. I just talked to one of my besties, and I think she'd be great for the show. And so he was like, okay, because every time Walt does one of these, it happens right away. And it's like immediate. Well, when we got done with the show, I looked down at my phone and I had a text message from someone who I had coached 10 years ago.
Oh, my.
Now, here's the thing. We hadn't talked in a really long time, and we had talked maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, just via message. She just sent me a message about something. And so I said, well, I'm not going to count this. I'm going to see if, another message shows up. And another message didn't show up. But I thought about it right before today's show, and I thought, because Walt and I have talked about this before, and I'm sure you've had this happen, Monique. It was like, why didn't I count it?
Yeah, right.
That's what I asked for, right? It was like I gave it a parameter. So it was like saying, okay, I'm going to ask for like at least $100 to show up, but maybe 1,000. And then $100 shows up in 5 minutes. I go, well, I'm not going to count it.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right? Boy, it was exactly what I asked for. I said somebody that I haven't coached in 10 years or an old friend. And she's actually both. I don't know. It was exactly right. And I said, I didn't think about it again until I think Sunday. And I thought, oh, it's been way longer than 48 hours. And I kind of went back. I was like, no, I don't think I've heard from anybody that fits that, parameter. So we're going to just count this. And then right before the show, I thought, why am I not wanting to count it? Like, and how many times do we get what we ask for and then still try to convince ourselves that we didn't get what we asked for?
That's right.
Cindy, sometimes I think that it just happens so naturally and sometimes so quickly that, we just discount it like, Oh, that's just a coincidence. Well, we know there's no such thing as a coincidence, but
Right.
that's what we say. Oh, well, not that, something else.
I don't know if you know anything about Akashic records. I didn't know anything about them, but I had someone offered to read my Akashic records. And when they did, one of the things they said to me was really interesting, because there's one segment of Akashic records that is like it has to do with manifestation. And she said to me, I bet you either, when you decide to manifest something, it either happens immediately or it doesn't happen at all. And if you stay with it, you're just banging your head against the wall for 5 years, and it's like, I thought, I'll have to think about that. But then I thought, wow, a lot of times it does just happen immediately. So I don't know. That's interesting that you say that, Monique. I think that's true, is that it's so natural and easy that we think, oh no, that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
We're really good at dismissing things. It's astonishing. I mean, really, we're very, very good at it.
Nature,
I guess. I mean, the first time that I noticed consciously that I had negated stuff coming into my life, the part that just blew my mind is I negated the negating. I just wouldn't accept the fact that I was negating.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I don't even know how to begin to explain that.
That's funny.
That's just flat out denial that won't go away.
That's right, exactly. And then I developed a series of them here on the show because last August, I think it was, I decided to take the Dan Nagana challenge with his ebook, The Money Game, and start playing that game through. And I've completed the first third of it. I've completed the first phase, which is a 5-step phase. But the funniest part was there were like 2 or 3 of those 5 steps, I can't remember how many, where I would get what I asked for and not make the connection. And then I'd be coming up to the show. I do the show. I'd say, it didn't show up. Oh, wait a minute. It did show up. And in the middle of the show, embarrass myself by the fact that I had overlooked the manifestation that I had asked for. It's like, oh, geez.
Remember that story about, I heard a friend, I don't know if Monique heard this story. I heard a friend of mine was talking about asking to manifest something, and she asked for getting on a plane. She asked for like that she wouldn't have trouble because her bags were way too heavy. She was like, I just want to buzz on through, and that whoever sat next to her would be like a cool person that she would want to be hanging out with for a 5-hour flight or whatever, and that they would see someone from Saturday Night Live, which was like,
I remember that.
What? It was so off the wall because they were like flying into Ohio or somewhere. It wasn't like they were going into like Hollywood or New York or something where a lot of celebrities are. And guy waved her right through with her heavy bags. Sat next to a woman that they have become fast friends. They were just together. Then they get off the plane and they're waiting for their rides, and they're facing each other, and she sees the person she's facing, the woman she was flying with, waving. And so she thinks, oh, she must see the person that's coming to pick her up.
Yeah.
So she turns around to see who it is, and it's somebody from Saturday Night Live. Okay, so this like impressed me so much the day I heard it that I thought to myself, the next night I was having trouble sleeping. I was awake in the middle of the night, and I was thinking of something, just normal, like everyday things, to-do list, things I needed to get done. And I thought, oh yeah, I want to make sure I need to do that, and this needs to happen. I'd like this to happen. And I remembered that. And I thought, a third thing that's ridiculous. And I used to find playing cards in the street all the time, like 10 years ago, just all the time. I'd find them I'd find them at the gas station, I'd find them at the grocery store, at the airport, everywhere I looked, there'd be, oh, playing card. And I'm a card reader, so that was kind of cool. It hadn't happened in a long time. So my third thing, laying there in the middle of the night, I said, I want to find a playing card just because it's fun. And then I went to sleep. 2 days later, my husband and I, after dinner, went out for our walk, and we're halfway across the street, and I looked down, and there's a playing card right in the street. And all of a sudden it clicked that was the third thing. And I started screaming, I did this. I asked for this. This is what I asked for. And my husband was just looking at me like,
what's wrong with you?
He's being Cindy. And I said, so I started explaining to him. And when I went to tell him, what happened and my friend's story, and that I was in bed and that I had made the intention for 2 things and that this was the third, I couldn't remember the 2 things. Really? I literally could not remember them. And I tried for a week. And what I decided was that they were so mundane, right?
Yeah.
Like, I hope a client calls me back, or I hope that I'm sure they happened. Mm-hmm. And that I dismissed them just like this. They were so natural, so normal that I didn't even remember them. But that third thing was out of the ordinary. And so it perked me up and it alerted me to the fact. And my friend had said this. She said, when we saw the Saturday Night Live people, I thought, would I even have recognized the miracle of my bags being waved through and of the wonderful friend next to me if that third thing wouldn't have happened?
Wow.
So talking about just dismissing things that we ask for and not recognizing them, I think this might be a little trick to play on our brain, right? When we're making an intention, is add some third crazy thing.
Something wild, yeah. That's a good idea, actually, because it's association, right? You associate it with the other thing that's more mundane, and so make it more likely you'll notice the mundane.
I remember what they were. It was like, I said, I don't know what they were, but I know they happened.
You know they happened.
What about you? What about your intention last week?
Did you say me?
Yeah. What about your intention you made? What happened?
She's grinning. She got a thumbs up.
Awesome.
Okay, so there's a little caveat. I believe there's a little caveat to my manifesting my client for my new coaching program. So part of my coaching program entails identity shifting. I'm sure you guys know what that is, but for any of you guys out there in the audience, if you've never heard of identity shifting, Dr. Maxwell Maltz wrote a book years ago called Psycho-Cybernetics. And it's really on self-image, how you view yourself. And essentially, really, if you want to become someone different, then that's exactly what you need to do. You need to become someone different. So in light of getting this new client that I said I wanted to manifest, what I decided to do was become someone different, right? So what does my higher self look like? The next level coach Monique. I have her in my head, right? So like all week, I decided to dress like her. Like I got up in the morning, I went to the gym, come back, and I put on full makeup, which I never do, right? I put on makeup. Look, I've got my little jewelry on and stuff, all that stuff, right? Because that's what Next Level Monique would do. Okay. And so I made the intention. Today's Wednesday. That was last night. I'm thinking it was yesterday. I don't want to say it was Monday. I think it was just like I've procrastinated this whole time, right? And finally focused. I think it was yesterday because yesterday I went live on Facebook and on Instagram on purpose, right? Just talking. Oh, you guys, it might have been Monday, but anyway, it has been in the 48 hours. And no, it had to be Monday because I had the client, fudge sickles. What do you call it? Phone call. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, we don't use phones that much anymore, so it's understandable you would forget a phone call, right? Everything's text messages these days and social media.
Yes. So she scheduled on Monday, but the call was yesterday, right? Okay. So all of that, all around the mulberry bush to say, I think part of my manifesting it was also me deciding to embody the coach who would have my next high ticket client, right, for my new coaching program.
Love it.
I think that it went hand in hand. First, I focused on it that I didn't last week, right? I waited until the last minute to focus on it starting on Monday. And she booked on Monday. Phone call was yesterday, right? But I've just continued to show up, as my best self. So all in all, yes, success for all three of us.
My God. Wow.
And I love That is the most effective tool that I know of, because everything we connected to our sense of identity. Yeah, I do this with clients all the time, even in really small things. Like I had a client that said, I want to be a well-funded retiree, right? And I said, okay. I said, well, what does a well-funded retiree eat for breakfast?
Right.
How does a well-funded retiree throw those wet towels in the dryer? Right? Like you're still going to be doing day-to-day things.
Right.
A lot of times people say, and you might run into this if you're doing identity coaching, where someone wants more money. And you're like, well, what would, wealthy you be doing? And they're like, well, I can't do it because I don't have any money. Right? So they get this like catch-22. It's like, no, wealthy people, they don't just spend money all day long.
Right.
Seriously, like they might spend more money than me, and they probably hang out at the beach or a resort or something more than I have in the past year. But the truth is, a lot of them work a lot, and they do normal things we all do.
Yeah.
They drink a glass of water, okay? So if you haven't had a glass of water today, you should have a glass of water. So how does a wealthy person drink a glass of water? And it sounds like a weird question, but if you ask yourself that question while you're getting a glass of water, you will feel a shift in your body.
You do. You
right?
do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And you think about, Walt's talked about this a lot. And actually my best friend is an absolute expert at this, and she's going to talk to us soon. But, actors, embodying, like, okay, the part I'm playing is the coach I want to be, right? The part I'm playing is the coach that has 5 more clients or whatever it is. And you just kind of step into that role, and you don't, costumes help, set design helps, but there's also the embodiment part that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, you put on makeup, you did jewelry, right? But there's also, even without that, like before you were getting ready, right? At the gym, in the shower, whatever, you still are in the mental space of like, I'm going to embody this next version, right?
So definitely mindset. Yes.
Yeah. So powerful. So powerful.
And a thing that I keep asking myself over and over for everything that I have to do, every decision I have to make, what would Gigi do? What would Gigi say? Would Gigi wait to hesitate, or would she just take action? Well, she always takes action. So then that makes me take action, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm Gigi.
Love it.
I love it too. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
And Jeffrey's sharing some stuff in the live stream about what he was doing. I don't really know specifically what he had asked for last week. It sounds like it had to do with illuminating conversations, because he says, I got many illuminating conversations, even the word illuminating showing up in my world.
Oh, Jeffrey, what was your actual intention? This is so good.
And then the best part, he says he just found a $100 bill in his garden supplies. I mean, I especially like that part, because it's a reminder.
Garden supplies. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, Jeff, if you need my Cash App, Jeffrey, I'm
there you go.
Give it to you.
Awesome.
But I love the fact that he shared that part too, because we have a tendency as human beings to isolate, right? Yeah. With this exercise that we just did, I was isolated on, did I get a specific person, and I did, David Strickle, to call me up or contact me actually and ask to be on the show. Mm-hmm. But did I also take the time to notice other things coming in that I had previously asked for? Or that fit other bills that were going on. We can become so monomaniacal about, well, it's got to be that one thing or else everything is failing. That's how I think we end up ignoring. That's how we end up missing the fact that we manifested something, because we're focused on this other thing over here.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens, and Jeffrey is illustrating beautifully how you focus on all of it. You celebrate all of it.
Well, celebrate, yeah, but sometimes when we drop the focus on something, it slides in through the back, right?
It does that too, yes.
Let go of some of that attachment that we had about it and started focusing on somewhere else. And it's like, that happens so often with people that, have obsessed and worried about a certain thing, and that's called focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as they say, forget it. Well, Walt, this was like your love affair story. Well, it was finally like, forget it. You know what? I don't want a relationship. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. And then there it is.
Right? Here comes Louise in the back door.
By the way, Jeffrey was actually responding to you, Cindy. I heard Cindy say $100 or $1,000, and I found it. He says.
Okay, let's do this again. So I asked for $1,000 or $1 million.
There you go. Yeah, think big.
Jeffrey goes back to the garden supplies.
I love it.
That's excellent. Great. Excellent. Very good.
I think we can declare experiment number 1 to be a complete and total success. Holy cow.
Right?
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Jeffrey. I love how we influence each other as well.
I like his latest comment. I love how we influence each other. Yeah, you said the same thing. But that's great. That's exactly what happens. We build on each other. And I mean, to reiterate the whole point about noticing all of it, isn't that what excitement is all about? Isn't that what joy is all about? Because when you're in the place of joy, you have that clarity. That's the other thing that we associate with that high level vibration. When you have clarity, it's easier to spot it all. It's easier to see it, to notice it, to pay attention, to appreciate it, to feel good about it, and to therefore keep the next one coming in, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and so on and so forth. That's how you get in that upward spiral, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. And I was going to say, that's such a good point because, not to try to make sure we recognize that life isn't perfect, but there is contrast. And oftentimes when we're on this, like things are going great, and then we'll have some contrast and we think something's wrong, like, oh, things were going so well and blah, blah, blah. But it's just a spiral. We're coming around to that point again. And once we grow past or grow through that contrast, we'll be up a level, right? And things will get easier and bigger and better. And we just keep moving in that direction. So there's always going to be a point where life has an ebb and a flow. It's like the moon, waxes and wanes. And we are going to have those things come up. Somebody asked me about this. I did a Clubhouse thing this weekend, and someone asked me about an idea that I called trouble at the border. And it's like, right? Well, what it is that when we are brainstorming and having dreams and hopes and wishes, right? Our intentions are all in that. Like when we're all talking about manifesting $100, it's light and it feels great and we're all excited about it, right? Unless I need $100 in the next 30 minutes or like my power is going to be turned off or something, then it's not so light and happy, right? Right. But when we're talking about, hey guys, let's make this project, let's do this show about experiments, and we get all happy, and it's because it hasn't manifested yet. It's light. It's in the ethereal realm of hopes, dreams, wishes, ideas. It doesn't have any weight to it yet. So it's light and fluffy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as soon as we start making the actual plans to bring it into physical manifestation, where we have to make the phone calls and find the book and, and rent the place and do all the things, and the person hasn't called us back and the book is gone. Right? That's because it's getting weightier now. It's coming into it. And it's not my idea. It was a wonderful concept by Maria Nesmith, I think. It's the book called, might be called The Spirit of Money, The Energy of Money. But it's a concept that we're all going to come up against when we begin to manifest something. Is when it comes into physical, it has weight to it, and sometimes it's heavy, and sometimes it goes sideways.
Sideways, yes. I love that. All right, well, let's move on then. Let's see if we can do a second experiment. I think the first one we can declare as a major success. So let's see if we can do what Dan McGaney talks about. Let's see if we can expand our edge of believability a little bit.
Well, I was looking through the book, unless you guys have one picked out already.
Not really, no. I mean, you told us that you had something in mind, so I said, okay, that sounds good. Let's do it.
And I saw this experiment number 9, and I turned to the lab sheet to see, and it's also like a 48-hour lab sheet, which I thought is a good time frame, right? Because you're not. I mean, it either happens or it doesn't. And it's called the Fish and Loaves Principle. And the subtitle to it is The Universe is Limitless, Abundant, and Strangely Accommodating.
I like that.
So it just sounded like it would be good. And I won't read the whole chapter, but I'll read, she has some little anecdotes, and this is one of hers. Colonel Mustard in the conservatory with the wrench.
Okay.
And here is a quote from Albert Einstein that I really thought was profound. Common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18.
Ooh.
And we've talked before about how many of our set points are already there by the time we're 7.
Yeah.
You can imagine how many beliefs that we say are common sense, right, that we've collected by the time we're 18 years old.
Yeah.
That was kind of an interesting idea.
Unnerving, I think is the word I would pick, but yes.
Yeah, those of us who have been around slightly longer than 18 years.
Especially when we can attest to the fact that it gets worse the older you get. There's so many opportunities to hang on to these things we really don't want to hang on to.
So this is her own personal story, so I thought it would be good. She says, I was playing the board game Clue with a couple of my daughter's friends. We passed out the detective notebooks and placed the rope, the lead pipe, and the other miniature weapons in the miniature mansion's miniature rooms. I said to Kylie, who was playing Professor Plum, why don't you go first? The girls looked at me as if I'd just asked them to take a shower in the boys' locker room. Mom! Miss Grout, they loudly protested. What? What did I say? Everybody knows Miss Scarlet always goes first. Likewise, they explained that in order to make an accusation, you have to be in the room where you think the murder took place. And if you want to take a secret passageway, you can only do it between the parlor and the kitchen, or the library and the conservatory. Who says? I asked. The rules. It says so right here. One of them thrust the neatly printed rule sheet in my face. These engraved in stone rules remind me of how we play life. Mm-hmm. Somebody decided that this is how the world works, and because we all agreed to see it that way, we made it reality. Turns out, we've all been had. Nearly all the concepts and judgments we take for granted are gross distortion of things as they really are. Everything we think is real is simply a reflection of the clue rules that we all agreed upon. The world we think we see is merely the projection of our own individual clue rules. Maybe it's time to take those clue rules, cut them up, and use them as confetti. Until we finally get it, that we are wholly loved, wholly lovable, and wholly loving, we will continue to feel empty, question our purpose, and wonder why we're here. That's why we need to ask for a whole new lens for looking at the world. So she talks about, this is a very, very simple experiment because it has to do with what we're actually focusing on and what lens we're looking through to focus. And so I'm going to read you the lab report sheet and see what you think. Principle, Fish and Loaves principle. The theory, the universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. The question, is my focus on the negative keeping me from seeing reality?
Ooh.
The hypothesis, if I change my outlook and make a concerted effort to look for goodness, beauty, and abundance, it will show up in spades. Time required 48 hours, and then it has a place for you to put the date and the time that you start. And then it has a place for you to record the number of kind, beautiful, and good things. So instead of creating, an ask, I want to find $100, and then at the end of 48 hours, just seeing if we had. This one's going to take a little bit more awareness and paying attention throughout the 48 hours and kind of keeping a checklist of how many things you see that are full of goodness, beauty, abundance.
That sounds very cool. I like that.
This is what she says about approach. I've heard the old adage, what you appreciate, appreciates. So I guess I'll give it a whirl. Who knows? Maybe expressing gratitude is more than just some mumbo-jumbo Pollyanna Oprah thing. Willie Nelson, after all, said that when he started counting his blessings, his whole life turned around.
Mm-hmm.
Like Willie, I'm ready to bet on the probability of peace, bliss, and joy. Consequently, I will actively seek goodness with a vengeance. And then at the bottom of the sheet, it has a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk. It says, "We have more possibilities available in each moment than we realize."
Well, personally, I'm very pleased and proud to be doing woo-woo things. If that puts me in Oprah Winfrey's company, hey, that's fine by me. I like that a whole lot. But I get the point. The point's a very good one. I like the idea of this is basically not just counting blessings. This is counting blessings as they happen. This is noticing the blessings.
This is, and it's an awareness exercise, really,
Yeah.
right? Because we are putting ourselves in the space where we're going to notice things as they happen. And from experience that I did about 10 years ago, when I started this meditation habit where as soon as I was like actually turning the lights out, shutting my eyes to go to sleep, I can't meditate for 15 minutes there, right? Because I'll fall asleep in 1 minute. But what I started doing was naming one thing that I smelled that day that was good, something I tasted that was good, something I touched that felt nice, something I heard that was beautiful, and something I saw that was beautiful. And what I noticed was the first few days, every night when I laid down and shut my eyes to do this, I would say, my little puppy's fur was so soft, the coffee was so good this morning. After the third or fourth day, I realized, I'm like saying the same 5 things. I heard music,
Yes.
and so I made myself a new rule. It has to be different every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing this, and maybe the 5th or 6th or 7th, night of doing it, one day, somebody had sent me roses, and when I was putting them on the table, they smelled amazing. And I said, "Oh, this can be the thing that I smell for tonight." And I realized that my brain was getting the idea in the head.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh my goodness, I am now starting to be aware of good things with my 5 senses in the morning, in the afternoon, because I know that I'm going to ask myself this question, and I can't say the puppy and the chocolate and the coffee and, I can't say that." So having your awareness open to good things, and use your senses, beautiful things, kind words you hear, things you smell that are delicious, whatever, suddenly your brain gets on board with it, and it's like that reticular activation. It's all you see is good things, right? It's like they're everywhere. So I'm down for it. So
I like it.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess the contest is who has the highest number.
I like that a lot. I'm going to also tell you what my reaction would have been if you had proposed this to me back when I first learned about how the law of attraction works.
Okay.
Because I know exactly what it would have been. It would have been, I don't have anything good that happens during the day. The last thing I want to do is embarrass myself by carrying around a blank sheet of paper that I'm not going to fill in. I was terrified that nothing good would happen in my life because I was in a place where that's exactly what I've been focusing on over and over and over again. So guess what? That's what I was getting. And as I look back on it now, it seems silly, but that was where I was at. It kind of makes me realize this is an exercise that everybody kind of needs to do at one point or another, just to get into that flow of realizing lots of good things are going on all day long.
What I think would be cool would be to, like, last time we made the intention in the show, and then Monique made her intention, like, she talked about it, but she didn't get serious with the, like, doing of it, right? Like, she didn't fill out her lab sheet, so to speak, until Sunday. Well, I think it would be interesting to make the intention now to open our awareness, all of us, to good things, beautiful things, kindness, whatever, abundance, limitlessness, and then start counting further on in the week once our awareness is open, right? Because
well, I'm going to need to have that lab sheet, actually.
Spectacular things happen.
I'm going to have to print out a lab sheet. I may have to print out 3 or 4 of them just so that I can have enough room to write all this stuff down, because I'll never remember it all if I don't write it down. So,
I collect these. I have so many of these. I'm embarrassed to tell you. I won't tell you. I don't know how many. But these little bitty notebooks.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, I dedicate one of these little notebooks to keeping track and to carrying it around with me and just jotting down when I notice something.
Very cool.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm down for that. What do you think, Monique? Is this a good one?
Seeing as my internet has been acting up literally for the last 10 minutes, I don't even know what the exercise is.
I know you were kind of freezing up there. Yeah, I saw that.
I saw one little freeze, and she came back, and I thought, oh, good, she's back. But
now, what we're proposing to do, this particular exercise that Pam Grout outlines is simply one of going through the day and noticing everything that comes our way, every experience that we have, everything that we notice that comes into our awareness that we like, that's good, that we approve of, that fits our joys or fits our preferences or anything that we like, anything good. Just
right. Aladdin says kind, beautiful, good things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for. We're just going to look for goodness, beauty, and abundance and watch it show up.
And there's a piece of me that's also kind of asking myself, well, am I going to get anything else done?
Right. No. Well, here's something good about what Florence Scovel Shinn used to call driftwood. So when a sailor is out to sea, he cannot see the shore line. But as it's closer, they will see driftwood and birds because those things aren't way out in the middle of the ocean. They're closer to land. And so that's a sign that you're getting closer. Mm-hmm. So as we're looking for abundance, it also counts when we see someone else get a blessing.
Ooh.
Right? So like people that are looking for, like say Monique has a client that's looking for clients because she's a business coach. And her client comes to her and says, so Monique says, well, just pay attention, open your awareness. And then the client comes and says, oh, my best friend's a coach and she got 2 new clients this week, but I didn't get any. That's driftwood though.
Mm-hmm.
You noticed clients, right? Or I'm a relationship coach. So sometimes I get people that say, oh my gosh, when am I ever going to get my soulmate? My next door neighbor just got engaged and my sister had a hot date last week. And when's it going to happen for me? And I'm like, that's driftwood. You're noticing.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's coming.
So we can really notice this, whether it's something directly coming to us or whether it's just in our sphere, because we're filtering out most of the stuff that's in our sphere. So if you're noticing it, whether it's to you or to someone else, you're noticing it.
Yeah, this is about filtering in, really. This is about rewriting the filter.
Right. Right.
Which is a really good thing to do.
Actual filter. Yeah. That's going to filter. By filtering in things that are beautiful and kind and good and abundant, we're automatically filtering out lack and scarcity and ugliness. And we're letting that, it's still going to be there. We're just really going to fade into the background as we bring beauty and kindness and goodness and abundance into the foreground.
Yes.
Just for 48 hours. Then
I like
you can
that.
go back to seeing all the scarcity.
Well, it might be a bit of a challenge, but you know what? As challenges go, that's a good one.
Yeah.
If I'm going to have somebody throw a challenge at me, it might as well be something that has some stuff in it that I like.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder what our live streamers think about it.
Well, Jeffrey's actually making it even more interesting for himself because I think he's going beyond looking for just noticing the good stuff that comes along. He actually has things he's manifesting. He's listening. He's going to manifest a Rottweiler and a Basset Hound puppy just for fun. He's manifesting a slingshot.
And a Basset Hound just for fun?
Just for fun, yeah. Jeffrey has an unusual way of having fun compared to other people, but it's his way, you know.
What are you going to do with them, though?
Enjoy them.
Are you going to give them back after?
You're going to give them back.
I like this thing.
If that's something you don't want, give it back.
This is true. That's funny. But yeah, well, I mean, once again, he illustrates the point that we manifest lots of things all the time. You know, so he's going to not limit himself to one thing. That's good, you know. But
and it's on the list.
It is on the list.
It's something that, you know, everybody is going to have a different idea of what they find good and beautiful and right and abundant. So whatever that is for you, when you see it, you know it.
I just know I still have that one thing in the back of my head saying, you're not going to have enough time to get stuff during the day if you're just writing these things down all day long. You're going to spend your entire day doing it.
Well, here's what's interesting. On the lab sheet, it just has one little space. It says number of things. So you don't have to write it down. Just keep a running count in your head. You know those clickers that like the umpires use or whatever?
Now all of a sudden my monkey brain got sad because it really wanted to write all the little things down.
Well, write them down if you want to. I'm going to probably jot some of them down, but I'm really busy. So yeah, I doubt that I'm okay.
Maybe I'll write the first 10 down and then I'll just keep the clicker after that.
Right. Or those little marks where you do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the hash marks. Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I like that a lot. That's good.
Write it on my hand.
I love the fact that Pam Grout's experiments, they don't limit themselves to manifest X. Some X that you want to have come into your life. They're about, I asked for something to expand our edge of believability, our edge of confidence and trust in that the stuff is happening. And that's exactly what this is doing. This is actually building our belief system by reprogramming our filter, that internal filter that we have in the back of our heads, the RAS, and reprogramming it specifically to give us literally only stuff we like. And that, what's the phrasing that is positive and abundant? How do they say it in the book?
Things that are good, kind, beautiful, and abundant.
Good, kind, beautiful, and abundant. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a wide.
It is.
Right. And things that I might think are beautiful, maybe someone else doesn't. And my idea of abundance is different. That's okay. It's about you. It's about you and your personal. Yeah. Right.
But this is all about basically recalibrating for that. And that's good.
Yeah. Because like anything else, we told the story about how the reticular activation system works. The idea of like, I never saw a yellow Volkswagen in my neighborhood until I bought one, and now I know there are two right down the street or whatever. Right. Your awareness opens. So when we open our awareness to things that are good and beautiful and kind and abundant, we're going to begin to see much more of it than we're seeing now. I'm ready.
Exactly right.
More and more. Yeah.
So live streamers and people listening to the podcast at home, because you don't have to actually be here for the live show in order to do this,
It's 48 hours. So even if you're hearing this on Wednesday or Thursday,
that's right.
It's like just, you still have time to do it before next week.
Exactly.
Get reports of how this works out for people.
But declare it. Brenda's declared it. She says, sounds like a fun challenge. So it sounds like she's on board for doing it, but declare that you want to be a part of it and that you're going to do it. And fortunately, it's pretty easy to do. The concept of it is easy to do. And that we're just looking for things that we find to be kind and positive and things that we really like so much. I think probably the biggest deal is just committing to do it and then doing it. Because this is like all exercises. We could just kind of blow it off, right? Right.
So here's an idea that just came into my mind, because I know this is one of the practices that I've used in coaching before, but it's because it's just an easy mind thing. Like, think right now of a color that you really love, right? And it might be like, my favorite color's been green ever since I was a kindergartner, or it might be, this week I'm really into purple or whatever, right? But think of a color that just brings you joy, a color that you feel happy when you see it, and start noticing that color.
Jeffrey's raised his hand, by the way, so he's going to do it. Nasha's tuned in. I don't know if you saw this, Nasha. Nasha says, I've been waiting for Cindy all week.
Aww.
Yeah,
Gosh, recently. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're here. Yeah.
So
looking at a color, that's pretty easy, right? Because you go in the closet. I said red, and there's a red shirt, and I look outside, and there's red flowers on the camellia tree right now, and I look, and just start noticing. So it's just an awareness exercise. It's just to train your brain to pay attention to your intentions,
which is important.
Yeah.
We kind of illustrated that before. It's pretty easy to fail to notice the things that we're attracted. How are we going to notice them if we aren't paying attention to the things that are important to us?
We notice them and we say, no, I'm going to go for something different.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go for a different one.
I think among other things, this is actually going to retrain us to actually notice our manifestations when they show up.
Seriously. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we need to notice them right away, and we need to celebrate them. And even labeling, a lot of times labeling things is a form of judgment, which is kind of lowers our consciousness level. But when we're reminding ourselves, oh, this is beautiful. I just saw something beautiful. And I just saw an act of kindness, right? Like sometimes you just witness someone else.
Yeah.
Even on social media, right? Someone will say something and you'll notice that someone makes a comment to them that's kind and loving. That counts.
Yeah.
Because you're noticing that. Because if you're on social media, there's plenty of opportunity to notice comments that are snarky and mean-spirited.
Really? he said snarkily.
Snarky and mean-spirited and trollish. And right? And it's like, oh, we don't want to focus on it.
Yeah.
What we focus on expands, which is the whole point of this exercise. Yeah.
I'm curious to know, do you ladies have a particular favorite way of celebrating stuff when you notice that, something came through right or something, or maybe it's something you're just trying to manifest? Like Monique, when you were setting your intention of what the future Monique, the super coach Monique is like, when she gets that great new client, do you have a particular way of imagining a celebration? I'm kind of curious. She covers her mouth.
I actually don't celebrate my manifestations.
Oh man. Okay.
Wow.
Not that I'm not grateful for them, but I don't be like, woohoo, it happened. It's more like I knew it was going to happen. So let's move on to the next. I noticed.
That reminds me of when I had my first son. I knew I was going to have a boy, and that was way before they did ultrasounds, right? Like they only did an ultrasound if you were like having some serious problems. And so, but I knew he was a boy. I just knew. I knew from day one. As soon as I knew I was pregnant, I knew I was going to have a boy.
And I just told God I wanted a girl.
And I said, it's a boy. And I'm so glad. And then I was in the hospital, and I had a very long labor in the hospital. And when the baby was born, all the doctors and nurses were like, it's a boy, it's a boy. And I was like so tired. I was like, I know. I told you.
Yeah, like that.
Right? Like, I know. So it's like, yeah, I get that. But, it depends. You're asking how to celebrate. I guess it depends on what it is. Because, like, I think I celebrate like Monique just did in the moment, right? Like, yes! That might be the celebration. But I also like glitter and fancy nails and champagne and books. I love books. So sometimes I'm just like, oh, I got a new client. Buy myself a new book. It just depends, right? I think joy, just being joyful.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. I do know that for myself, the earliest ways that I would celebrate was to recognize that I was gobsmacked. That, oh my God, it happened. I can't believe it happened. But like the jaw would drop them, and did that really? That was just no. There's no such thing. Wait a minute, did that just happen? I mean, literally, it was that kind of crazy thought process with incomplete thoughts just passing through my head. That's the way I originally celebrated. It took me a while before I would consciously say, "Yes, I did it. I finally did it." And then that actually took me to a new level. But for the longest time, it was just jaw drop open. That was the celebration.
I think that's so important because it shows that we're recognizing. Like we talked about after the show last week, and I looked at my phone and I said, oh my goodness, I got a text message from someone who I coached 10 years ago. And then what did I do? I said, well, I'm going to wait for a different. So that wasn't like, I didn't really celebrate. I was a little surprised at first, and then I just discounted it instead of like, we did it.
And that's where you can end up.
Yeah.
It's very easy to end up in that space of just discounting. That's the key word, because we do that. We discount, and we discount really, really quickly. I mean, in split seconds, it happens that quickly. And I'm thinking back to, like I said before, the stories about how I was reaching different thresholds in the money game, Dan's version of the money game. The first one I remember happening, he starts you off really, really small level. I started at $10. He recommends starting $10, $5, $1, anywhere that's believable, but small enough You can do it pretty easily. And within a few days of that, I ended up getting a check in the mail from my auto insurance company that was a partial rebate on the insurance for $13 and change. And I instantly discounted it. I said, oh, that's nice. I threw it on the table. I mean, absolutely no associating whatsoever because it was just a small amount. It didn't matter. It was a small amount. That's the way my mindset was set.
Well, I remember when this happened, and I can't remember my own personal story. I only remember that we both did pretty much the exact same thing. Like it came, like $20 showed up, and I never even connected it.
Mm.
Did all the work. It showed up. It's like right over my head. I never even connected it until you started talking about it. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So funny.
So this is where I'm hoping that this new experiment of just identifying, listing, or at least counting the various things that happen during a 48-hour period. I'm going to do it for the week, I think, but at least within a 48-hour period. Yeah, you're going to do it for a week? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also notice, I think it'll be interesting to notice if it seems like as the week goes on, more things. We know more, like
yes.
Right? Because that's the whole point, is if we're focusing on good, beautiful, kind things, we'll see more of them.
I'm curious to know how many duplicates we're going to get. Because you know how when especially if it's an ask. Now this is more of like a vague ask. It's like I'm asking that I become aware of stuff so I can make a note of it, right? But in any kind of an ask, the universe doesn't tend to send us one. It tends to send us a series. You know, so if we miss the first one, we may notice the second one. If we miss the second one, we notice the third one. We can even notice a few of them in a row and say, wow, I had a few of those, you know? And I'm wondering if we're going to get that. I wonder if we're going to find, I saw an act of kindness and I saw another one and another one in 15 seconds, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I wonder if since the experiment sort of has a category, right? It's like kind, beautiful, abundant. Mm-hmm. It's like, I wonder if we'll see more of one than the other.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
I'm writing those down too, so I remember what they are. Kind, beautiful, and abundant. Yeah. That's important. This is going to be interesting. I'm thinking about what we shared today at the top of the podcast about last week's experiment. I mean, because I didn't expect we were going to get all of them. We got all of them, and that was just really, really cool.
Yeah.
You know? Because I did.
You did.
This all too. I don't know. Y'all make me feel weird because when we were talking about the celebrating, Cindy and Walt, honestly, my goal for my clients is to get to a place where the law of attraction or manifestation doesn't surprise you. Not that you're not grateful. Right. Don't get me wrong. But it no longer surprises you because now that's what you expect and it's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I don't quote unquote celebrate, because I expect it and I just expect that this is how my life is supposed to unfold as a spiritual being. But anyway, I digress.
No, that makes total sense. That makes sense. I mean, and everyone is different in how they, approach different things. I have so many synchronicities happen in my life that if I go a day or two without any, I feel like something's wrong.
Something's wrong, right?
Right. Yeah. And so, because it's constant. And so, and yet the funny thing, it still delights me. It still surprises and delights me. There's always an element of surprise and delight. Even though if it's not there, I notice the absence of it. And I think, okay, what's going on here? Because I don't feel like I've had anything that's been synchronous, in a day or whatever. And my husband used to tease me. I tell him anytime something happens, right? And he said, Cindy, it just doesn't impress me anymore. If you can come to me with like 8 or 10 things for an afternoon, then I might be impressed. Because he just knows it's always happening, right? It's like, wow. But I still always feel delighted over it. And I guess that is that is my celebration is
I guess
I feel, right? The joy that I feel over manifesting things, over things happening that are synchronicities. That's the celebration. It's like internal. Now, sometimes I actually will go, buy myself a present or have a little party or, we turn up the music and have the dance party in the house all the time. Sometimes I do that too, especially if it feels like a big deal, a big event. But most of the time it's just, I don't know, it's like the inner celebration, you know, it's feeling like you're going to laugh, feeling like this is wonderful kind of thing, feeling just that little bit of surprise and delight that always seems to be a hallmark of magic, of magic making. There's always a little surprise and delight in there. So yeah, I want it to be an everyday occurrence as well. And I think it is. It's just I want to be conscious of it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the key.
Everything all the time. Yeah. You just want to do it consciously. Yeah.
And it makes total sense to me that is your form of celebration, Monique, in particular, because you're such a positive, happy person. I just know because of the way law of attraction works, there's got to be some level that you're celebrating. Otherwise, it wouldn't keep happening. So, I mean, it just has to be. You know, when you said that you don't do it, I said, really? How's that possible?
Yeah, but I think Cindy is right. You know, I think that she's right. And like when something doesn't happen for me, that's when I check my inner man. That's when I check where are my thoughts, what am I focused on or what am I not focused on? You know, how am I feeling today? You know, because you're right. Well, I am a pretty happy-go-lucky person, but I have my days too. And man, I tell you, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I never really thought that all of these like things that our bodies go through as women when menopause started hitting, I never really, I'll be fine. Man, there's been some days I've had to struggle. I'm like, I'm not, you know, I'm not a sad, depressive type person. And for me to like really have to find things to pick my energy back up, you know, to get myself back into alignment has been a struggle sometimes. So it's real, Walt. Okay, it's real.
I was just going to say, with my finger pointing like you did, the struggle is real. Yes. Oh. Insomnia is the way I have experienced it, and that is not fun at all. Because what's funny is that I will have 4 or 5 nights in a row where I don't really sleep much at all. And it's hard to just navigate life. And then I have a day that I sleep so good. And the next day I feel like I can rule the world. And it's really taught me how important it is to get deep, restful sleep. And I'm talking as in the framework of law of attraction and of manifesting, right? It's like deep, healing, restful sleep is important to your power as a manifester because you want to have the ability to consciously choose your perspective. And when you haven't slept in 3 or 4 days, that's hard to do. You know, when a client calls me having a meltdown, I always ask one question, are you sleeping? And they most of the time say no. And then I say to them, sleep deprivation is a form of torture. There's a reason why actual torture, right, uses sleep deprivation. It's because it breaks you down, because you lose your focus, because you can't cope. And so, yeah, taking care of your body, good sleep, good food, hydration, those are all important to you if you want to be a conscious creator.
It really is. Yeah. And you know, Cindy, and then I'm going to leave it alone, Walt, but I think what this has taught me is because I have always been a naturally happy and optimistic person. Even when something negative happens, I'm always looking at the flip side of it, like my rape, right? I didn't, you know, but it's like, okay, that it happened. Let's move on kind of thing. But I think Cindy and Walt, what this has really taught me is how to be able to resonate better or understand my past clients that I've had who really do struggle with negative thoughts, negative thinking. They're, you know, the glass is empty. It's not even half full. It's just empty, right? And I didn't ever really feel like I could understand because I couldn't. I just never had those feelings before. But now some days have been like, oh my gosh, I can't watch enough manifestation stories and I can't listen to enough, you know, law of attraction stuff or whatever to kind of get me back into alignment mentally and vibrationally. So yeah, it's real. The struggle.
I think it's important though, when we go through things that are hard for us, that can always be part of the result, is that we have more compassion for other people going through things, that we understand on a deeper level, and that makes us better coaches, better teachers, better people. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a great way to summarize the podcast today. So, okay, the experiment has been set. So we look forward to getting the reports next week. I have a feeling next week's going to be even better than this week in terms of the reports of the experiment. I'm really looking forward to it.
We're probably going to fill the whole next hour up.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of high flying going on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think so.
Indeed.
So buckle your seatbelts. We're about to take off. And thank you for flying LOA Today Airlines. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye.
Bye.